My name is Rob Love, the Woofer Radio, and you're listening to Debatable Truths, where all truths are debatable, objectivity prevails, and mediation occurs. Welcome back to another episode of Debatable Truths. Today we have CB and Mama, the original crew of Debatable Truths, and the star-studded cast for your entertainment pleasure for today. And today we're going to dive deep into domestic violence and issues surrounding that topic itself. But first, I want to play a clip for you. Some might call it an unfair clip or possibly an resurfaced clip
Yeah.
pertaining to Sean Connery.
I would almost say they always drop these things to tarnish someone's legacy after they've passed.
And that's a good way to put it. And then you want to add to that, Mama? Want to comment on it, or do I
I think
bust
it's
in?
petty. I think it's petty.
So yeah, tarnishment, petty, and I said unfair.
And then, as I remember, you said you don't do it with a clenched fist, it's better to do it with an open hand. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I didn't love that.
I haven't changed my opinion.
You haven't?
No, not at all.
You think it's good to slap a woman?
No, I don't think it's good.
You don't think it's bad,
I don't think it's that bad. I think that it depends entirely on the circumstances and if it merits it. Yeah.
Or what would merit it?
Well, if you have tried everything else, and women are pretty good at this, they can't leave it alone. They want to have the last word, and you give them the last word, but they're not happy with the last word. They want to say it again, and get into a really provocative situation. Then I think it's absolutely right.
And this is not something that I don't believe is strictly a Sean Connery thing or approach. I think it's more of that person's persona approach, because he basically is telling you that I got tired of her. She kept talking, she kept pushing me, and there is a reason, just based off of verbal confrontation, that it's okay to shut her up. And this is the method that I choose to use to shut her up. It's not personally my method to get someone to be quiet. I think I'll just walk away or diffuse the situation with something, just over positive them to where they realize, well, I'm not getting to him. So what's the use of me continuing to dig or push him? But listening to him tell you that she kept pushing, or she just kept talking and essentially saying she was getting on my nerves, so it's okay to hit her to shut her up, because essentially I believe she's intentionally trying to push my button, and I'm gonna give her what she wants. How do you see it, CB?
All right, I'll jump off into the deep end here.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a deep, deep dive conversation today.
So what he's expressing is a limit, and I believe that everyone has one. Man or woman, when dealing with the opposite sex or the same sex, you can only push someone so far. Now, I don't think he expressed it in the best way, but I think I took it as that's what he was expressing, that there's a limit and I'm going to react. Now, the reaction isn't a positive reaction. It's not good to physically assault someone, but he's expressed that I have a limit and I've tried to acquiesce to this argument, as he said, let you have the last word, and then you still want to push the issue some more. Now I've reached my limit and I lash out. And then, so I think it was Barbara Walters was trying to antagonize that, not to get him to react, but I think, yes, to get him to react, but not in a physical way, but to slip up or to take the opportunity to recant. Do you do it with an open hand or a closed hand? Does that matter? If he's hitting someone and he's physically abusive, is there a better way to be physically abusive with your hand open or your hand closed? So she was pushing an agenda trying to get him to respond. But I think overall, what he was expressing is that he has limits. And when he reaches his limit, that's how he responds.
Yeah, but overall, does it have to be a button to get pushed to proceed, or is that just personality? I am a woman beater. This is what I do. She really doesn't have to push my button, but this is my excuse I'm going to give in this situation or this scenario to justify my actions. And also, I mean, where is the physical? So you telling me there's something that someone can say to me that pushes my button to where I physically have to essentially assault them. Mama, what you think about him not even being, it was not something physical that drove him to that point or pushed his button, but it was something that was verbal and probably something that already was ongoing. He was already probably annoyed by her, or there was something about her that um, got on his nerves or egged him on multiple occasions. So, how do you see it? How do you see this scenario or the statement that he made overall? And I guess in general, how do you feel about um, men specifically? We're talking about right now, we're going to talk about men specifically hitting a woman.
Okay. Well, I think that all of us have that, you know. Some of us are walking in self-control and some of us are not. But the ones the us who are walking in self-control still have the capacity to go up in somebody's mouth. You know what I'm saying? I think that's universally human for men, for women, for children. No one wants to be talked to crazy, and we all have triggers, right? Now, does that excuse him from slapping this woman upside her head? No, it doesn't, because there are other ways to handle frustration and aggravation and being disrespected, honestly. So pretty much what I heard him saying was, I tried to get away from her and I let her have the last word and she's still disrespecting me. And if you keep getting on my nerves and badgering me, I'm going upside your head. Do I think that that's right? Absolutely not. I would not want to be with someone who would put his hands on me. No one would want that, you know? No
Right.
one would want that. I wouldn't want that for my daughters. So I believe that we all have the capacity to control ourselves. We all have the capacity to put our hands in our pocket, but some of us are more prone to violence than others.
He did. So here goes the thing. From that point forward, for the rest of his life, he told the world and every woman out there or man, whomever he chose to deal with, this is how I get down. So everyone who met him going forward knew, if you continue to push Sir Sean Connery,
Right.
you were going to get a hand to the face, slap,
Safe
like
to say.
Dave Chappelle said.
Not saying that he used the example of women. So that's why we're here. That's why we're here
Yeah,
today.
he's
That's why we're
doing it to
talking about it.
women. Like,
Oh, no doubt. I have no doubt
that's
that
what it is.
I have no doubt that they are the subject or
Right.
the victim here. But I don't know if he hasn't. This doesn't apply to men too for him in this situation.
I can't speak to that. None of us can really speak to that, but I know people who beat up everybody, beat up men, beat up women. You know what I'm saying? When they
Right.
get angry. And I know some people who are weak.
There are people that pick and choose their battles,
Mhm.
as you should, because you don't want to walk up on somebody and find yourself a little sleep. Uh, Take a little NyQuil a little bit early because you stepped up and they weren't going.
Yeah, you can't go out there and pick your own ass whooping.
Right. So now let's shift off from specifically Sean Connery into what is a scenario to where a man hitting a woman is not looked at in a negative light. I have a couple stats for you. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. And this includes a range of behaviors from slapping, shoving, pushing, and in some cases might not be considered, domestic violence overall. However, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe physical violence, and that's beating, burning, strangling by an intimate partner in their lifetime. That's a pretty high number. You telling me 25% of women and then 1 in 7, whatever that percentage is, of men have experienced severe physical violence. And again, that's beating, burning, strangling, just a few examples by their intimate partner.
So I'd probably start with proportionality. And
Okay.
here's why I say that.
That's that
Yeah,
military. That's that military.
Well, so when I think about when it comes to an officer, right? It's okay for an officer to shoot someone who has a gun.
Right.
He had a gun. I feared for my life. Now no one even argues the situation. It has nothing to do with race. Then they're going, this was someone who had a gun. The cop was defending himself. Or even if it was just a regular citizen, if they shoot someone who had a gun, nobody starts questioning that. So
Right.
why would it be any different? I guess I'm answering your question with a question also. Why would it be any different between a man and a woman? If a man was being attacked and he hit a woman, I think just carte blanche, everyone's going to look at that and say, it was wrong. You should never hit a woman. But if she had a gun and he shot her, it would be okay. And I think that there's the line blurs. And then I think there's also the proportionality. They go, well, he's bigger and stronger. Well, if she was attacking him and he hit her one time, is that okay? Compared to if she was attacking him and he beat the brakes off of her.
Right.
Will people have more acceptance because of the proportionality at which he fought back and hit her? And then it always comes to, well, why didn't you run away?
Right.
You could have left. People always try to find a way to make it meet what it is they want in the desired outcome.
Yeah.
They want to impress upon you what you should have done when, one, they're not in the situation, and two, in similar situations when it comes to weapons, they don't have the same expression. Or there are times when we hear, well, why didn't you shoot him in the leg? And people look at that and go, man, that's batshit crazy. I'm not an expert marksman.
Right.
He had a gun. I had a gun. I defended myself. That's the result. So I think more than anything else, people have to be realistic and thoughtful. And I think proportionality will come into play when it comes to a man and a woman. If a woman attacks a man, he pushes her, she comes back. And then say, for instance, he decks her and he stops and then everything stops. That's something that you can go to court with and say, I was defending myself. Now, if he pummels her, you're going to have a hard time, I think, in front of the judge or in public opinion in that situation, even though you were protecting yourself.
Yeah. So it's still a gray area to where, do you defend yourself enough to get away and report it, or defend yourself enough to stop the assault? Because if she's assaulting him and he defend himself enough to stop the assault, because that's kind of alarming. We're angry. And these are just United States statistics. Why are we so angry?
Is it just that we're angry, or we don't know how to deal well or cope with our emotions?
That's a good question.
that goes into a whole psychological needing help, support issue that I'm not well equipped to speak on. But here's what I will say, and what I do think about the whole situation is that people, love is hard, and people are not, it's not easy to walk away or leave someone. That when you have someone in your life that you're spending with, that you care for and that you love, you're not willing to throw it away so easily, regardless of how they act. And that's the part that makes it difficult, why people are still in these types of relationships, although they're not healthy for them. And I understand that it's not easy to be alone, or no one wants to be alone either. And so I don't think it's going to be something that is quickly resolved. You can't just tell someone not to be with someone who treats you like that, or you should just leave him or her, because it's someone they care for, and it's hard for them to walk away from that.
Is that a function of what we talked about in the male's perspective, where we talked about deal breaker? Is it because they haven't seen something that they call a deal breaker to where they feel that it's time to leave, or they're just having a tough time leaving a relationship, or just like you said, they don't want to be alone?
I would think if someone went upside your head, they've already instituted the deal breaker.
No doubt. Yeah, that's fair enough. So, Mama, is there a scenario to where you've seen, I mean, not saying you've experienced it yourself, but a scenario where you've seen one of your female friends, any lady that you could think of, that domestic violence was not the deal breaker? They still stuck around.
Yeah.
And what do you think was the contributing factors to them still remaining in that situation?
You're just asking, like, have I seen situations where women stayed and it wasn't a deal breaker? Domestic violence
Right,
wasn't a deal breaker?
right.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen situations where, and I would just want to say this just as a preface. People will, you know, I'm sure comment and say different instances and what they feel like. When I hear domestic violence, I think about a pattern of abuse, meaning at some point in our relationship, you began assaulting me, whether it was verbally or physically or mentally or even financially abusing me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And
Okay.
this pattern has continued throughout the relationship, and your behavior hasn't changed. You've become more controlling and more bold because I didn't leave. So now you feel more entitled to do these things to me. I'm fist to beat you. I'm fist to burn you. You can't go nowhere, trying to cut you off from seeing your family, cut you off from seeing your friends. And any woman who's gone through it will tell you that the pattern is very similar. That's domestic violence. Now, on the flip hand of that, there's a fight. Having a fight and domestic violence is different.
Okay.
There's a difference. Meaning, if you have a fight, and I'm not necessarily talking a fist fight.
Physical. Right.
You know what I'm saying? But like, say
Mhm.
you and your husband are arguing and he brushed past you and he shoved you,
Okay.
or you got pushed, or you pushed. You was the one who did it. You know what I'm saying?
And you're talking about the woman.
The woman,
She
right,
did the pushing. Okay.
right. Where it's not a pattern of abuse, it's an isolated incident, but then that's done. You don't do that no more. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's a fight.
Yeah.
And a fight you can move past, a fight you can overcome. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So it sounds like in your scenario, your examples, the abuser was the complacent one. If if they were allowed to keep abusing, then it probably only got worse. It escalated from that point on, and the abusee kept taking it. But why are they staying? That's the real question here. Why are they staying in that abusive relationship? And again, we're not just talking physical. You brought it up, financial, verbal, degrading them. Why are they staying in those situations? I know sometimes it's stability. Oh, he's taking care of me and it's not so bad. They're talking to a friend of theirs. It's not so bad. He supports me financially, and this is the ones that's probably getting, like you said, smacked up in the mouth. But again, we just read the stats: 1 in 5 women, and what was it? 1 in 4 women, and 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe physical violence. So it's pretty even both ways. There's a lot of men accepting abuse and sticking around, but why? Why is that occurring? And for all the listeners out there that's dealing with this, what have you told yourself that allows you to not see this as a deal breaker for you?
You can
CB.
talk about that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
I so for me it's hard. I don't know how to answer some of that because I've not been in an abusive relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't had many conversations with someone who has been in an abusive relationship. So
Okay.
it's easy for me to sit on the sidelines and say, just pack your shit and leave.
Yeah. Well, let
Yeah.
me let me give you a few scenarios, and this is off of personal experience. I'll call it personal viewing, or front row seats into physical abuse itself. I mean, verbal, just like Mama said, verbal abuse. I mean, that's a little subjective on what you want to call abuse versus having an argument or a fight, a verbal, a fight where it wasn't physical.
Hmm.
So, verbal abuse, a little subjective on what's considered verbal abuse, because some people have what's called thick skin. They can handle the way you talk to them, whether it's just cussing them out or you calling them out their name. That's something that they could have grown up in the environment where they experience that all the time. So when you do it to them, that's not verbal, that's not abuse to me. That's just you disrespecting me. But sometimes it's not even disrespect because it's accepted in a lot of environments, unfortunately. But um, so my mom herself, she got married to a guy, and I used to see him hitting her, and she never complained or tried to hit back. And I'm talking about this lady is a fighter. I mean, I have seen her literally have people outside snoring, is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm talking about on the ground snoring. No kidding. Yet this strong lady, which I'm talking about hands of stone, because I'd have felt a few of those punches myself, is taking this from this guy that I'm pretty sure she can whoop. I was 13 at the time, and I'm pretty sure I could whoop him. But it wasn't in me to at that point. I don't know why, but I was already living with my grandma for a lot of years, so I've learned to stop fighting so much, and even at 13, stop fighting so much, and let them handle their own battles. So me sitting in that situation, let her handle her own battles, and this is her husband. So I can't understand what's going on right now. But from the outside looking in, I saw she felt that this is my husband. I've been hit before. I've been in many fights before. It's not so bad. And he's got a roof over our heads. I just got custody of my son again, my baby boy again. I got a roof over his head. We eating every day, which is something we didn't always do because mom was a drug addict, alcoholic, gangbanger, everything you can name that happens in the South Side of Chicago is what she was. So, I mean, she could easily call guys to come and handle dude if she needed to, but she never did. She never called my brother. She never called any of our 74 first cousins. She never called any of her gang banging friends, none of that. She just stayed in there and took that. For me, the life of me, it never registered to me other than it had to be the security involved in that. And I got custody of my son again, my baby boy, and we are comfortable. I just have to deal with this. And oh, by the way, it's really not his fault because he's on drugs. He only did it when he was high. So they giving him an excuse. They're giving the abuser an excuse for the punishment or the abusive behavior that they receive.
The ends justified the means.
Absolutely.
That I'll accept that because with him I get this.
Right.
And that's hard. Everyone has their reasons for why they are willing to accept it. And like I said before, it's not easy to just pack up and depart and no longer be involved with and separate yourself from someone because your lives become intertwined. And so much of you and what you have in your life and what you do in your life on an everyday basis involves them and vice versa. So I can see where there's a difficulty in leaving. Now, on the other side, it's also, I think, easy for me to say on the outside that you need to love yourself more and be willing to rebuild if necessary for the safety and security of your own self. But again, this is someone who's speaking from not personally being in that situation. And I'm trying to advise someone about issues that they're going through that I am not. So I don't feel like I have the requisite knowledge to advise, because I would advise myself, then you need to move. You got to pack your stuff and get out. If you got $50 and that's all you have, you need to move and leave and go stay with family. You have friends that can help and support you, but that's not easy for everyone to do.
Yeah. Where's the outrage for abuse right now? Is it because it's there's attention given to other issues that's going on right now? LGBT, Black Lives Matter, white cops killing black people or brown people, as they've used a few times. And is the outrage aligned with the social economic status?
So it's really hard to have outrage about something that people are ashamed of and not necessarily willing to come up and say out loud and tell people, because that would be hard to do. You know, this to come out and stand in front of everybody and say, my husband has been beating me for 10 years, or my wife has been abusing me verbally and hitting me for 20 years. And then your persona is gone because no one knows that, who's going around telling everybody that they're being physically abused. You know what I'm saying? So that would be very difficult. The only people who have the courage to do that are the people who've already separated themselves from it. And so then you have the people who are the domestic violence advocates, and they're telling you you can leave, you can go, and your life is going to be okay, and your kid's life is going to be better. But they've already experienced that better, right? So, and they've gained the courage of living on their own and separating from that person. But for someone who's in the middle of it, how can, like, that's such a secretive thing. No one tells that. No, most men, if it's a man or woman, you know, is going around telling all their friends, yeah, I beat my wife, or at their job, yeah, I beat her every time she do something I don't like. Most people aren't just that bold with it. It's such a hidden thing,
And that's a good point you brought up. I used to be a high school math teacher, and everybody knew Coach Rob. Nobody never sent anybody to the office because I handled everything in my own classroom. I'm bringing that up because when I finally wrote a referral, the referral list is mighty long. So if the first time you see one of my students come to the office is April, and we started school in August of last year, then what's going to happen to them? Because that's the first time you just seen them.
Right.
So when you're thinking about domestic violence, you've never seen Peter smack Christina. Every time you've seen them together, it was all howdy doody. So now when the first time that issue comes up, or the even thought of them coming up, and you knew that Peter was a great guy,
right?
You can't even believe this, and it can't be as bad as she said it is. And then there are times when there has been fabricated stories or recollection of the events that happened in that scenario. And so you can't automatically assume, well, he had to be hitting her if she said he was.
See, that's the difference. That's the difference between domestic violence and a fight.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Because if you're having a fight, you just want people to be on your side. So you'll tell anything to get people to be on your side. And then the truth is somewhere in the middle. You know what I'm saying? You're just trying to win the fight,
Right. And
whereas
that makes sense, because you said it yourself earlier. Domestic violence is a history of events that occurred, a bunch of many fights that occurred throughout the years or over a span of time.
Right.
Is that what
because a lot of times, I think most of us know when we're being abused. I think we know, and even if it's more subtle, like emotional abuse or verbal abuse or financial abuse, that stuff sometimes is not as out and out. But if somebody's punching on you every time they get mad, if they have a bad day, that you scared because they fit to come out in your house and take it out on you, you're being abused. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What's the tolerance? Yeah. So there's a certain tolerance level of the abuse, or when they decide that enough is enough.
Are you asking when people come to the point to?
Yeah.
Well, that's so personal. I think if you asked 100 women who've gone through something like that, they'd all have a different breaking point. And probably we would be shocked to hear how minor it was. Maybe it wasn't he just hauled off and beat you so bad and you got black eyes and you hiding bruises and then this was the last straw. Maybe not that. Maybe he just came in and talked to you crazy one too many times and then that was it. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
all of us have have a different last straw. All of us have a different last straw, And
for Sean Connery, it was talking back.
I don't think that was his last straw. I just think that his maturity is low. His maturity was low. That's what it says to me. Not that what he was saying, he expressed it to the best of his ability. Like, I just need you to get out of my face and you nagging me, and because you won't leave me alone, I'm gonna slap you, and that's gonna shut you up. But that's a low maturity level.
Yeah, but he didn't tell us. He didn't tell us he gave her a warning. He's supposed to say, "Look here, this Listen here, B. Say something else, I'm gonna smack the shit out you.
Yeah.
So say something else.
That's just no maturity. That's immaturity.
Right.
That's just
But
immaturity.
I don't know. He probably just went on in her mouth anyway. I
Yeah, he
don't know
said
if
he
gave
did
a
it.
warning. I don't know if he gave a
He
warning,
said
but
he did it.
I think it's only right if you give him a warning.
Yeah, he
So
said he did it.
I ain't saying it's okay, but I'm saying if you tell somebody I have a button that you can push, and you run in your mouth is that button. So learn me or deal with the wrath.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair.
That,
And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm a woman, right?
You're a woman. Yep.
I'm a woman.
Right.
And my husband has his limits. He does.
Okay.
He does. Just like I have my limits, right? Now, we are both responsible for ourselves. So fundamentally, it boils down to respect. Okay?
Okay.
And even that's not always black and white, because sometimes you just have to say things. Some things just need to be said. And a person can say, okay, I don't want to hear this no more. You need to stop talking to me. But you still need to hear this.
Oh,
Period.
well, you talking about a fight. Because
Not necessarily.
in a
Not
fight,
necessarily.
in a fight, there is something that, if I'm telling you, don't say nothing else to me, and you feel that I got to get this point across, that don't mean that that's one of those things that I just warned you about, saying if you say something else, I'm gonna smack the shit out you. Not that.
but
That's a if you say something else, I'm gonna ignore you, or I'm gonna walk away, or I'm leaving. That's not one of those I'm gonna knock you out
Right.
type of things.
The point being, it's a level of maturity that has to happen on both sides. What I heard Sean Connery saying was he was immature. He was immature. And probably the woman he was dealing with was as well. And neither one of them had any respect for each other.
Well,
And
fair
so
enough.
that's why their relationship looked the way that it did.
I mean, that could have been one of
so
his little side chicks too. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what was going
so
on with that.
so here's one thing I would say is
Yeah.
that we've taken what Sean Connery said in that instance and
Mhm.
in essence labeled him an abuser. Now, that doesn't mean that he was an abuser
Mhm.
or
No.
that he had domestic violence, that someone was in a domestic violence situation. He expressed what
But
he would do when he got angry. So it could be a fight. I'm not pretending to know what he was trying to express, but if based on our discussion that if it happens once, it was a fight. If it was something where he came home every day and slapped the shit out of somebody, then that's an abuser. The other thing I wanted to address was when they go, I can't believe Paul did it or John did it. He's such a great guy.
mhm.
I think that if someone is an abuser, that people are going to know. Whoever's around him enough will know. You can't hide it from your friends because he's not going to be able to just completely hide the way that he responds to his wife or significant other if they are an abuser, whether it's male or female. When you're going to respond, they're going to elicit a response uh, that you use as a reason to be abusive when you're out in public. So he or she is going to say something and their partner is going to respond to show that there's some timidity or concern or fear for their well-being, which will make it known to other people that something else is actually happening in this relationship.
That's true. I would agree with that. Because you can't hold it. If that's who you are, you can't hide it for long. You can't hide who you are for long. I would agree with that. That's true.
Man, I don't know. That's easier said than done, though, because I know plenty good actors that they don't allow you to know them even that well. Like even in this relationship on this panel, the Wolfgang, you don't know me. You know what I've allowed you to know about me or of me, and that's it. I can play whatever role. If all of my friends in Mississippi probably think different of me from the friends from Chicago or the people that I met in Bahrain or Virginia. Each location probably had a different me at that location. And when I'm speaking to those people at that location, I'm still giving them that person that they know. Even my nickname is different in different areas. And I'm the same person underneath, but not everyone has every detail of me based off of my interaction or my relationship with that particular group. So I think people can put on a good act and
Yeah, that's
not
true.
not give you all of them and only give the people in that certain circle the portion of them that they want them to know or want them to be or want to see themselves as. There's plenty of women that I know growing up on the south side of Chicago that will put you to sleep, is what I'm trying to tell you.
They catch them
I ain't saying
hands.
that I ain't saying that's the only place in the world where women can go, but they can go. And if you don't stop them, just like you're trained in your concealed weapon class, you're trained to stop them. If you don't stop them by whatever that means, then you can catch an L as a grown man with a woman assaulting you. Mama, what just in light of listening to me and CB on our, I guess, thoughts on this topic, this specific question, what was going through your mind listening to us?
I was thinking that what CB was saying was correct. But then I feel like this question, you have to make it more personal, right? Because when you make it broad, you have all these different scenarios, and in a court of public opinion, you can't please everybody. Somebody's
Okay.
always going to have a problem with if you hit her, you didn't run away, or you should have hit her, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? I think that's too broad. For myself, I'm just going to keep
Okay.
it personal.
Fair enough.
Okay? I'm just going to keep it 156.
All right. Okay. What percentage?
I don't want to be hit by no man,
Okay.
so I put my hands in my pockets.
Okay, but you're not that. That ain't you. You're not gonna be her right now. You
I'm just
are
saying, like,
you one of my cousins. You fat, you Penny, or you Joe Willie, and these are all women in the family that
yeah,
will put you down. Surely,
yeah,
they will put you down. Be
yeah,
them.
yeah,
You them.
yeah.
Go ahead, be them.
No, I gotta be myself.
She said like no. She like
No,
no.
no, I gotta be myself because you got to. This is an issue that you got to be. You need to make it personal
Okay.
because that's going to dictate how you're going to see it when it happens in the world. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
For me and for my house, and I tell my daughters, don't be running up in no boy's face. Don't be up here like you fist to whoop his tail and you gonna stomp him and you getting in his face and da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? Because
Okay.
people have different
Hold
levels.
on.
Yeah, don't do that because one, everybody is not out here raising gentlemen.
Fair enough.
Everybody ain't out here raising gentlemen. It's a whole bunch of these young men today that are being taught. She put her hands on you, you lay her out like she a man. She feel like she can run up in the man's face, lay her out like she a man.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't a whole. Everybody in their house is not teaching their young men to respect women or avoid putting hands on them. Or everybody's not. That's something we need to take into consideration. Everybody's not being taught the same thing. Everybody have different levels of tolerance for stress and conflict. And Shucks, some folks, you'll punch them in their face and they'll go to their car and blow your head off.
Yeah, yeah.
So
that's fair.
For me, I can't be fat. I can't be Penny, and I can't be none of them other ladies from Chicago who got hands, who go toe to toe. I can't do that. I got to be me. Okay, I got to be Mama sitting right here.
Fair enough.
And Mama sitting right here, I keep my hands in my pocket.
Right.
I keep my hands in my pocket. So I don't want to be hit. And I'm not just saying that just for men. I don't go around just out here, piping up with women, because I don't have to fight you to get my point across or whatever. Now, if that's what you want, not even if that's what you want, but I find a lot of people who like to fight are like very like it's like a bloodlust.
Yeah.
Like you like to fight.
I got a question for you, Mama. You ever been in a fight?
Yeah.
All right. Let's say you now this is all about you now. This is all about you. You in this fight.
Yes.
You in this fight.
Yes.
You were winning. You were winning too. She was down.
Yes.
But she had some friends.
Yeah.
They came on up in there.
Okay.
They were taking you down through there.
All right.
But your brother just showed up.
Yeah.
What he supposed to do?
Oh, my brother gonna fight.
Oh, okay. So that's one of those scenarios where it's okay.
Yeah, my brother gonna fight. And I'm not saying that like
okay.
I'm not saying that like, oh, my brother better fight for me. Oh, my brother, he better fight. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that it's like a matter of fact. Even if he wasn't punching anybody, he's gonna be pulling people off of me.
Okay.
Or holding them back or something. He's gonna do something. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that. Huh?
But you want to know who those girls were that jumped in? You were beating up. You beating up Christina, but Fat, Penny, and Shirley came, and they pretty tough. He ain't just getting them up off you. He needs to lay hands on them. Is that okay?
Well, this goes back to the answer to the previous question. You don't know what everybody mind is. Okay. So when Fat and Penny put their hands on one of my brothers, Fat and Penny gonna have to fight.
No doubt. That's
Fat and Penny gonna have to fight.
That was their intent. They intended to fight.
But for myself, for how I teach my daughters,
right.
You do not know where everybody's mind is at. And folks' mind ain't right. Okay. People's mind is not right. And everybody is not teaching their sons to respect women the same way. Everybody is not teaching their sons to be calm and be patient and to be self-controlled. So you run up on somebody thinking you about to handle him, and he come out a real live bag on you. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't like to say. Men are inherently stronger than women.
Safe to say.
Men are inherently stronger than women. Okay. Save for, now I don't know if it's any bodybuilding ladies who gonna listen to this podcast and be like, oh, I bodybuild, I'm stronger than all these dudes. Okay, you might be. You got it. Okay. If you hit in the gym and you got it, and you got it. I ain't taking nothing away from it. But inherently, for the rest of us who just living our regular life and ain't hitting the gym, pumping it all the time, men are inherently stronger than women.
Yeah, and for those same bodybuilding women, you still that's not a different fight. That's a different fight. You working out and being able to bench more than this guy don't make you stronger than him.
Don't make you stronger than him.
Or make you a better fighter than him either.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Working out and looking good and looking strong has never won a fight alone.
Never. There's a whole bunch of big swole dudes who get laid out, okay?
Well, that's our show for today. Thank you for listening to Debatable Truths, where all truths are debatable and mediation occurs. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment if you have any great ideas on show content or topics. Please provide that information. And thank you for listening. Good day.